What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I got Larry Ballard with me, and Larry maps out everything in PowerPoint presentation. I don't think we're going to be doing that today. We're going to be talking more about what are tariffs, why are people freaking out, what are they going to do for the economy, what happens to the IRS, all that good stuff. We're going to be talking here. It's kind of like a Crash 101 course for dummies, and I'm the biggest dummy of all. So this is going to be good. I can understand. Help me understand, Larry. Help me understand. But first, folks, get your Noble Gold. If there's anything I do understand, it's gold and silver. Noble Gold Investments market update. Gold is up 46%. Sorry, 48% in a year, doubling NASDAQ and S&P 500 gains. But this isn't just another rally, folks. Global reserves are shifting as investors rush to secure physical gold, creating a massive supply gap. Gold is vanishing from the market, but you still have a chance. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com and turn your panic into profit. Make a qualified investment today, and Noble Gold will add a free 10th ounce, not 10 ounce, 10th ounce gold coin to your order. Noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. All right, let's talk about this. I had a guest on talking about artificial intelligence, how that it's just going to be a way of life. It's going to take all jobs, most of all jobs, and there's no stopping this. And I think about this, and I what's going to be left over for mankind? What are we going to be doing with ourselves now that AI is going to take over everything? The common man is not going to find work, and from the impression I'm getting here is that Trump is going to, instead of the IRS, we're replacing it with the ERS. And in the gist, that's how I'm understanding all this going down, because he understands as well as anybody else, if not more than anybody else, that the economy is going to change. AI is going to take over everything, and we still have to have a way to live, and we got to have an income coming in, correct?
Right. I'm going to be doing a couple of shows on those very topics. That's at least two or three shows. So we're going to walk into that.
I just don't see how this is a good thing for anybody. I'm sorry. I look at the artificial intelligence thing, and I know we're in a shadow war with China. We're in a race to it, and it just can't be good. I'm sure it's going to help humanity for a while, and then I just don't understand how this ultimately is a good thing for humanity. I just think it's going to go off the rails, and I think yeah, we may have a good 5, 10, 15 years of it. I'm just.
Nino, you hit it right on the head.
Oh.
I'm a devout Christian. Basically, this is going to create a period of peace and prosperity where we get God's harvest of souls. And then the technology moves us into the beast system, and we move into the book of Revelation. There's no question about it. But right now, this is the time God's giving humanity a window of opportunity to have some prosperity.
The only people that I talk to who think I'm crazy when I say that are the people who are godless, who want that. And that's the truth. And that's the way I say. They look at me and they go, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to live. We're going to coexist. And I'm thinking to myself, you can't have one or the other. You cannot serve two masters.
That's right.
So with that being said, let's get on to this. Tariffs. For my audience, that's kind of, late to the ball here. What are tariffs?
Well, let's start with, what's the sales tax? Sales tax is a tax we pay when we purchase something at the retail level, right? Just go to the other end. A tariff is a tax that you pay as the nation that's shipping to the United States to get access to our marketplace.
But hold
That's
on,
all a tariff is.
they bump up the price, and we ultimately pay it in the stores.
Yeah, well, that's true. But what we're going to do later on in this presentation is look at how little of a portion of that is compared to the system that we're in right now. And you're going to find out that this is what we need to do. We need to have tariffs. They're the basis of what made America great in the first place.
So obviously they're going to just hand it over to the consumer, the customer. You're giving us 25% tariffs, 140% tariffs. The price bumps up, but ultimately companies come back here to make their goods, and then we just buy American, which will be cheaper than China.
Yep.
So China is in a very serious situation.
I'm going to do another show on China pretty soon too. So basically, let's break it down. That takes us to Why are tariffs a good thing, actually? Well, you have to go back. The answers to everything are always in history, and Trump knows history as well as I do. Basically, America became the greatest nation in the world on its 100th year centennial anniversary, 1876, when it held a centennial celebration that hosted 10 million people from around the world and made a startling announcement. On this day, in 1876, America, the youngest nation in the world, became the wealthiest nation in the world based on tariffs. What we did is we put massive tariffs on, now this is going to be the same thing that happens here, massive tariffs on England so that we could not afford to buy their products. What did that do? Necessity is the mother of invention. It forced America to innovate. We developed the Transcontinental Railroad to get access to our natural resources. And then after we had the natural resources, we innovated manufacturing. And then that gave us trade. And what they said that day is England had a 300-year head start on us. And in just 34 years, thanks to tariffs, thanks to getting access to our natural resources, developing manufacturing, and developing trade, America, the youngest nation in the world, became the wealthiest nation in the world. So we will have a short-term spike in the price of retail goods, but it will be more than offsetted by the benefits that we will discuss, and they'll be the same benefits that made America the wealthiest nation in the world in just 34 short years.
So
So
companies
ultimately,
are already coming back to America. I heard, and I don't know if it was you that told me that, but oh no, it was Mike Furley, the a defense contractor told me that China is manufacturing plants are already shutting down.
oh yeah, I
Already,
discussed that with you on a show 3 months ago.
right. You
They're
told me
leaving by
how
the
bad the
droves.
economy is, correct. You told me how terrible the Chinese economy is, but now what are they doing? I mean, they're drowning now. They're below their nose. They can't breathe. So is it, I mean, it makes sense to me, common sense that they are shutting down plants all over the place now. I mean, they can't keep up with these tariffs.
It's going to be the exact opposite of what happened. So we got gutted, starting with Carter, when we entered into NAFTA and when China was allowed to join the World Trade Organization. And that was in the 90s when this really got severe. So from the 90s till now, take a wild guess to how many factories have been shuttered in the United States.
I would
Got
say
any idea?
thousands. I don't know.
90,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. So now let's look at China.
90,000 companies
Yes, we hardly make a damn
shut
thing
down.
anymore. We hardly make anything anymore. So now what's happening in China is the same thing. Their factories are shutting down. They're basically, here's what's happened. They have given up and surrendered on low-end trade. They don't have the manpower anymore. They've surrendered on mid-range trade. And this takes us to where you opened the presentation. They're staking their survival on winning the tech race. They're not going to win. So that's going to bring in AI. That's going to force America to drive AI, to drive robotics, to do everything you talked about when we went into the first part of this. But there's something about it that's going to help America at this moment in time. What that means is China became the world superpower because they took over trade, and they took over trade because they had the cheapest labor in the world, right? Well, with AI and with robotics, and they're really getting pretty sophisticated. The robotics now have touch and feel and so forth. So what's going to happen is the new industrial revolution, which we will be the ones to gin up, is not going to depend on low cost human manufacturing. It will be
Sweatshop.
it'll be driven by technology, and so we have an opportunity now to take back a good portion of those 90,000 factories, and think about that. So we bring in 90,000, we bring in trillions of dollars into the U.S. economy. Exactly the same thing, the opposite of what happened when we lost it all to China. So you're going to pay a little bit more in sales tax. But eventually, what we're going to do is revitalize the economy. The jobs won't be the low price jobs that you pay when you're making clothes by hand on a machine. Basically, we're going to have high paid blue collar jobs that are technical, that are going to pay great salaries. And basically, America is going to take back from China control of the world's manufacturing. And
But I
then we're
mean,
going to
all
have
the
a
jobs
race.
are going to be taken by AI.
Well, over
I
time,
don't see. This is where I'm like confused. I'm like, okay, we're bringing manufacturing plants back to America. But okay, that sounds great. But hold on, wait a second. They're going to be taken over by AI. It's like, so what's going on here? I'm very confused on this. And I'm sure it's great for the first maybe 5 years, right? Well, Trump's in, 5, 6 years, and then everything will be replaced by AI. I mean, that's
We're on
where
a
we're
we're
at.
on a trajectory that we can't change, but the short term is America is going to benefit. Now, to answer your question that you're asking, it's very complicated. I'm going to do a whole show on it. The whole structure of what we call government is going to have to change in order to accommodate what you're talking about. So that truly is a conversation for another topic, for
So
another
we could
time.
do the full show on ninoscorner.tv and just go into it in depth in detail. That one's a good longer show, correct?
Okay, yep, we
Okay.
can do that.
Okay.
So basically, let's go back to where we are. So tariffs made America great, and they're going to make America great again. And this time we can rebuild and basically do another industrial revolution. See, here's another advantage we have over China. We have put legislation into place that suppressed some 6,000 patents. The Chevron deal opens us up. Those were US based patents. So we are going to have a whole bunch of things to choose from as far as technological innovations. And then with AI, it'll allow us to gin those up and bring them to market quick. And we're going to win that race with China. We're absolutely going to win. So that's going to bring manufacturing back. And what China's going to look like is what Detroit looks like now. That's what's
I mean,
coming
they
for
got to
China.
know this, and I know they understand this, but what move do they make in your mind, Larry? Like, what does China do? Do they take Taiwan? Could they take Taiwan, or do they know that there's just no chance?
That's a whole nother story, but I'll give you the answer. Here's the bottom line. They won't do it because there's not an appetite for it with the people. They're ready to revolt. They won't do it because if they do and they're winning, then basically they're going to blow up the Three Gorges Dam. And if it takes it another step further, they're going to blow up the factories that make the chips. So basically, there's nothing in it for China to do it at this time. It's too dangerous a time for them to start a war with Taiwan.
Wow.
If
So
they're going,
what Trump did is he put a stake in the heart.
yeah,
He put a
and if they're
stake in the
going to
heart
make
because if we hit the Three Gorges Dam, it's over for them. And they're not in a situation right now. They're not in a strong situation right now where they don't have the higher ground. They can't afford a war right now. They
That's
can't.
right. That's exactly right. That's it. And they've lost control of the Belt and Road Initiative. And if they were going to do any play right now, this needs to be a whole show. But I'll just give you another little tidbit. They are really big on cultural lineage. And remember, they used to own Taiwan. Well, they used to also own Siberia. And back in the 19th century, they lost it to Russia. With what they've done very cunningly, that looks like they've helped Russia during this last 3 years. They've allowed Russia to basically be weakened so that they can go in and take over through negotiations or through direct assault Siberia.
Mm.
We're one of the most wealthiest places in the world in terms of natural resources, and Russia's never been able to really develop it. So if they're going to make a play, they're going to make it to the north across their border. They're not going to make it to Taiwan to the south.
Wow. So
That's
do
my
you think
opinion.
we'll start seeing them pull back? They're gonna
Yeah,
have.
I think the only hope they have right now is twofold. If they can win the technology race, then China will survive as a superpower. But I don't think they can win it, and I don't think they've got the appetite for war. So right now, you're talking about money coming into the U.S. So guess what? There's the normal um, countries we would have that are allies have already more or less capitulated. But guess who else capitulated? India and Taiwan and Japan and Cambodia and Vietnam. What do they all have in common? They're all in the Indian Ocean. They're all natives to China. They all see China as the greatest threat to their survival that there could possibly be. They're all aligned with the United States. And when you look at that, that is a very powerful industrial bloc. The world does not want to be ruled by China. So America is going to get all the investment that it needs. We'll get into that as we go down deeper. But if we answer the question on on the history of tariffs and why it made us great.
Well,
Should we
before we go
go
there,
on to
let me just
something
say
else?
one more thing. This
Okay.
this is genius on Trump's part, and all he had to do was tariffs because look what it did to Mexico. I mean, I thought right now we'd be in a full-blown street war with the cartels, and the tariffs have ultimately, uh, you know, made Mexico cooperate as well. I mean, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. Although there's violence already starting to spill out in the streets in Mexico. They're already having some fighting happening, inner fighting happening in Mexico. But as far as thus far, I can't believe that Mexico has not retaliated in a way that would have been bloodshed on American streets.
We keep getting off of tariffs, but what I think he's ultimately done by calling the cartels terrorists, I think he's opened up the door. Once we get this tariff issue out of the way, I think he's opening up the door for surgical strikes against the cartels so that the government of Mexico can become sovereign. And he needs to make Canada and Mexico truly our allies, not pawns of China. So these are all very complicated issues that go beyond tariffs. But I just pulled up a slide on my end that'll, I mean, maybe put this thing about fear of the cost by having to pay a little bit more for products. We got a $36 trillion national debt that takes most of the money that we pay in taxes and siphons it off and sends it to the global financial elite. And then we've got the swamp that's basically involved in that. Well, here's what happens. You've got losing trade, and it comes to the billions, and I'll give you some numbers in a second. And then the taxes are going up, 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 leading to that $36 trillion debt that's eventually taking us to a default. And then we've got steamroller, where what the government does is more than taxes. They put subsidies on things like steel and things that are absolutely essential for an industrialized nation. And what do? They then dump those products on America. And the next thing we know, our steel industry is going out of business. Our tool and die making is going out of business. They're gutting us. So basically, that's another factor that goes along with tariffs. And then they've got products that they won't even let us send abroad at all. You know, we won't accept them. We won't accept some of your rice and our agriculture products, etc. So you put all of that together, and here's what it comes down to. What you're going to pay in that little bit of incremental increase in the products that you buy at the store are dwarfed by the ever rising national debt that is eventually going to collapse America totally. So if you look at it that way, and it's a balance scale, basically putting the tariffs in is our only hope for saving our nation. That's how serious this is, Juan. I mean, Nino, that's how serious this is. Let me give you a couple of little facts I've got up here. So you want to look at the dollars and cents. Mexico, China does not, Trump does not go to the table ever unless he knows he has the leverage to win. So here's some facts for you. Mexico's deficit in trade with us, our deficit, I should say, $171 billion. Canada, $63 billion. China, $295 billion. Then he goes to the table and he's the poker player and he's sitting there and he's smirking because he knows he's got the hand. So we've got a GDP of $25.5 trillion. That's leverage. How much leverage does Mexico have? $1.4 trillion GDP. And how much does Canada have? I don't know the conversion, but it's 2.2, so it's less than that. So basically, you walk to the table and you know you got a hand that's all aces. That's where Trump's at right now. That's where he's at. And let's take it another step further into what you were saying, because I'm going to run through a bunch of statistics to give you a baseline here. So basically, unfair trade policies. All Trump wants is a more equal playing field. So I'm going to read off, this is a very long list. I'm only going to read off 10 or 12 things. And I want you to see how they've basically
taken. Show slides or no?
We don't need to for right now because we want to try to get through this in a conversational vein. So here's basically what we got. These are some of the largest economies in the world. So basically, the tariff that China puts on us, 67%. Well, our reciprocal is 34%. Well, advantage China, right? The next one, Taiwan, 64.
This was before Trump.
Yes, this is what he's fighting against to get this made fair. So he's looking at the tables and he's saying Taiwan 64, us 32, Malaysia 47, us 24, South Africa 60, us 30, India 52, us 26, Israel 33, us 17, Switzerland 61, us 31, the Philippines 34, us 17, two more to go. European Union 39, us 20, Vietnam, 90, us 46. So that's what he's trying to correct. All he wants, this isn't reparation. This is just let's have a little bit of parity so that we aren't losing as much money. There's two principal things that drive us into bankruptcy, and one is the unfair trade policies, and the second is perpetual war. He's fixing one of them right now,
Do
right
you have the
before the
list of what
American.
they are right now?
Pardon me?
You have the corrected list now? Like that was before Trump. What's
Well,
after Trump?
no, it's not been really negotiated. What he did, they say he capitulated. He didn't capitulate. What he did is he got our biggest allies. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. He got Israel, the UK, Mexico, and Canada to agree flat out to his terms. But then those other nations that I mentioned, they're all around China, and they know that basically if China gets control, they're going to be taken over. So what he did is he said to the world, remember, he's the consummate negotiator. I'm going to suspend imposing the full tariff regime for 90 days. What's that for? About 75 nations have responded to him and said, we want to negotiate. So we don't know what those numbers are yet. So he's given them 90 days to send their envoys in to sit down and say, all right, let's see what we can come to that's a more fair trade deal. And then what that's going to do, once he gets the tariffs in place, then those other things that I talked about, he's going to work on them. He's going to say, now let's negotiate a fair trade agreement. And then let's fix it so you can't do dumping. And then let's make our products accessible to your markets. So there's a whole agenda here. But basically, they're coming to the table. 75 of the biggest nations of the world have already said, we'll talk, we'll negotiate.
And ultimately, he's snatching he's taking away from the globalist and giving it back to our country, America, and the nationalist populist agenda.
What's going to happen out of this, as hard as this is for people to believe, is with the money that's going to come in, we're going to pay down our national debt. We're going to get out of this debt crisis that we're in, and we're going to get out of the Federal Reserve, and the IRS is going to go away, and we're going to go back to what made America great in the first place: is simple sales tax and no federal income tax. And he's going to base it on crypto. When we get to the next presentation we do, I'll break that down for you. But basically, he's going to put us back on a commodity-backed, gold-backed system that's going to allow America to retain its global leadership status. Well, I got one more set of statistics I want to give you as we go forward. So here are nations that have already said, we can see the trajectory that Trump is going, and we realize that if we manufacture our goods in China, we're not going to pay that tariff at all. And so they're saying we're going to come to America, just like they left us and went to Japan. So here's a list of countries that already said we're giving this much money. Japan, $1 trillion to build factories here, so they can keep a hold of the control of some of their auto manufacturing. The AEU, 1.4 trillion. Saudi Arabia, 60 billion. Hyundai, 21 billion. Apple, 50 billion. Nvidia, 100 plus billion. SoftBank, 100 billion. Taiwan, 100 billion. Johnson & Johnson, 55 billion. Eli Lilly, 27 billion. Merck, 1 billion. GE Aerospace, 1 billion, and they're still rolling in. See what's happening? So that's offsetting.
He's successful. As of right now, we have defeated the Great Reset.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. And the next show we do is going to give you the details of what all that plan entailed. We're just talking about tariffs right now. There's way more to this. So you good on that? Should we go on to the next question that you had?
Well, this is just amazing to watch this play out. I guess it's kind of like we got hit with the defibrillator. We were on life support. America was about to die.
Right.
I mean, really,
you got it. We were ready to declare financial bankruptcy is what it comes down to.
And then ultimately, it would have went into their agenda, their grasp. The talons of the evil globalists would have had a control of this country and humanity. I don't think people really understand where this was headed. And now we've been brought back with the defibrillator and we're alive again and we're taking our power back, correct?
All you got to do is look at what China looks like right now. When you walk down the street in China, you can't cross one single block without being on facial recognition. You can't say one thing on the internet without it affecting your credit score. You can't do anything
Can't do it in
basically to
Canada either. You can't do
yep,
it in a lot of
you
places.
yep, you cannot challenge the iron grip that's on those nations. And then what do they have with the CB with their credit scores? If you say anything that they don't like, basically they freeze you out. You can't travel, you can't borrow money, whatever, whatever, whatever. That is the entrance of the mark of the beast. Trump is postponing that for probably decades. I
So
mean, this is huge one.
what is Trump's end game here?
To make America self-sufficient, to make America the world's dominant superpower, and to, as you said, change the reset from the reset of the global financial elite to a reset that is God ordained, where America becomes the innovator of the world, and we share that technology with the rest of the world, just like we did when we innovated the Industrial Revolution, and every nation in the world gets more or less relative parity. And when that happens, then his ultimate game, he has said, is to bring peace and prosperity to the world. And that happens when you let all nations have a seat at the table of prosperity. That's his end game.
If we're going to be at the very top of the totem pole here, what happens to the other countries? I mean, the levels of playing field. How? I mean, it seems like now everything's going to go to the United States. What's going to happen to everybody else?
Well, it's exactly what happened when we invented the Industrial Revolution. What did we do? The key was, first you got to get the natural resources, right? So we built the Transcontinental Railroad. Well, then we shared it with Russia. We shared it with all of Europe. We shared it with all the nations of the world. So now all those nations could go out and get access to their natural resources, where before the only nation that had that access was Britain. And then what they do? We invented the Industrial Revolution. We invented with it the assembly line, the automobile, the telephone. All of those were shared with the rest of the world. The whole world was benefiting until they came along at another whole show, and they basically said, we're going to lose control if we don't do something. And they orchestrated a false flag and created World War I. But we're going to share all of that with the world, because the world is going to become interdependent, because globalization is dead, officially dead, and we're going to deglobalization, which is going to make nations and the people of the world basically work together. So,
well, what is my biggest question is, what does China do from here? Do they come to the bargaining table? Do they come to the table and make a deal? I mean, it looks to me like they have no choice. Or do they kick off a war? Because I know they're ready and set to go militarily.
Yeah, there's two possibilities. But first of all, to answer your first part of it, they're a very proud people. You have to understand the culture, and they're above all want to always save face. So I can tell you this: they're going to be the last people to the table. They're going to fight us every inch of the way. But here's what you need to know: the decisions that they've made in the last 70 years have utterly gutted them and taken away their power. So here's what they're saying: we don't need you, America. We can do everything without you. We don't need you at all. Lie, lie, lie. Here's the deal. With their one-child policy, they have a dramatic shortage of population. They say by 2050, the nation that's about 1.4 billion people will be about 600 to 700,000. They've got some of the oldest people in the world. They have to go to technology. So basically what's going to happen to China is they're not going to be able to basically pull this off, because here's the leverage point. The leverage point is this: China now is absolutely dependent. We're dependent on them for natural resources and so forth, but they have lost their domestic market. Unemployment is about 40%. They've had a real estate collapse. Everything is collapsing. Manufacturing is leaving. So if they don't find some way to gin up their manufacturing, they're done. So they no longer have a domestic market. They have to go to other sources. And with all the nations of the world that see them as a pariah, they're not going to give up the United States and then go get a replacement for that from multiple other countries. They're going to fight them. They know that if they go to China and let China win this war, we're all screwed. We're all going to basically.
So when do you think I think China, if they're gonna make a move, they got to make a move now. They got to make a move now, like soon.
If
Like they can't wait this out.
if they're gonna
Whether
be
the
foolish
move is
enough
to
to start
attack
a war,
Taiwan
it's
or the
gonna
move,
happen quick.
yeah, whether it's coming to the bargaining table, coming to the table to make a deal or start a war. They got to do it soon. And I'm gonna say this very vaguely for my YouTube audience. We know what they did. They've already hit us twice in 2020, and we know what that was. Juan talks about it all the time on my programs. So does other guests. We know they've already hit us
Mhm.
twice, and my audience knows what that was in
Okay,
2020. So it doesn't seem to me like they're just going to go, we're going to just lose. Forget it. We're going to
they're
walk away.
not.
Good
They,
game. I don't see that happening.
they got two options. Option one, gamble that they're going to win the technological war and they're going to emerge as the economic superpower of the world and bury America. Option two, decide that they're not going to be able to do that, that time is against them, and they're going to start some kind of a military action. But I don't think it'll be against Taiwan. If it happens, it's going to be against America. And so that's
They
what I
already
see there.
did, though. They already did in 2020 with everyone, and then
Yeah, yeah,
Biden. I mean, that was it. I mean,
yeah.
so to me, they're already in. The stakes are high. They're already in. They
War,
got the
war, war
coin.
has many forms. So one of the things they're doing right now, they're talking about basically blocking us out by cutting the cables in the oceans, and measles is coming out. So there's all kinds of things they can do. I don't know which one of the two decisions they make, but those are the only two they have.
Wow.
Bank on winning the technology war, or say we've got to go with a war now. It may not be the normal kinetic war, but
No,
it's nonetheless a
fifth
war.
generational
Those are the
warfare.
only two options they have, you know.
Right. Right. Larry, is that it? Do you want me to show your book?
Oh yeah, if you would, yeah.
Absolutely. So here's his book, folks.
Go
Scan
on
this
down.
code. Well, they could
Yeah,
scan this code,
no,
right?
you got to go down to slide 20.
All right. So this is what we're going to be doing on Nino's
Up,
Corner
go. You passed it
TV.
up. Go slow. Go slow.
But on
Go
Nino's,
up.
where am I?
I
Where
think
am I,
you've
Larry?
gone too you've gone too far now. Go down. Go down slower, and we'll stop. Keep
All right.
going.
We'll
Keep
be talking
going.
about
Keep
all of
going.
this on Nino's Corner TV,
Yeah.
folks.
Keep going.
This
Keep
is a
going.
huge presentation.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, I can stop. So basically, I'm not doing this for money. I don't promote myself, but right now there are two things that are happening. I need you to buy this book because this is the time when American people need to stand up. And when I do these slide presentations, they're very in depth. And what I get back all the time is this book has a 5-star rating across the board. And people tell me, I knew this, I knew that, I knew this, I knew that, but now I understand the big picture. And we need to do what India did when they got their freedom. India rallied around Gandhi. They did the same thing Trump is doing. They said we're going to boycott England, and England buckled, and they got the freedom. That's what we need to do. But you need to know the knowledge that's in this book so that you can understand and not be fearful and not give up and say, oh, uncle, we've got to stay the course. And if you're going to do that, you got to know what the heck is being done to us. So please buy this book. Go one more slide down. And this is something else that I have to ask. So I've got a new book coming out. It's Liberty Crusade, Fight to Save the Free World. It won't be out for about 6 months. But the first book, the only way I got it on the market is somebody from one of the big publishers, Harrison House, said no publisher in the country is going to publish this book because you told too much of the truth. She said, but I have a chain of Christian bookstores. I work for Harrison. I'm going to publish a book for you for nothing. Well, she's fallen some hard times. So she had some health issues and she can't help me right now. So I need to get this book out and I need to get it into the schools. We have to take back the schools. And one of the first things Trump did is basically get rid of the federal education department. Because of that, this book has to be annotated perfectly. It has to be perfect because I need to get it in the school. So I've got a bill of about $15,000 to pay to get this book out. Now, the good news here is I've been on Nino's show for a while. I've collected about 10 of that 15, and it's enough that I basically got into the queue for this publisher. And she says the book is now in process. It should be out in August. So I'm still trying to raise about $5,000. So if anybody can help me, I'd appreciate it. But I got us into the queue and the book is coming. It should be out August, September at the latest, and I'll keep you posted. So anybody who who has listened to me before and believes that I bring value to the conversation, please help me finish this journey and get this book out. So that's that.
All right. And folks, you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. And do you have a GoFundMe? Was that what you were just showing right now?
Yeah. If you can pull that back up again, there's a QR code. And if they'll just click on that QR code or go to LarryBallard.com, that'll take you to the website. And both of those will ultimately take you to Amazon, where you can buy the book. That's the only place it's at. Bookstores won't let me in. You tell too much truth, you get censored. So if you click on that code, you'll be able to buy the book, or you'll be able to donate, either one. The one up above has a code that leads you to my website. This has a QR code that leads you directly to the other one below, directly to the GoFundMe. So please help me help our children. That's the plea that I'm making. We need to get in and get all the DEI stuff, get the true history of America and the world in the hands of our children, because they're going to be the leaders of the world in the next generation. Yeah. So I don't know why you're doing on time.
My parents are, my dad's 90 and my mom's 85. And I was thinking to myself, what's going to happen when I'm that age? Like, can I really trust this younger generation to take care of me, or are they just going to throw me off a cliff? It's like, man, I mean, we really are depending on the younger generations. I mean, that's just where it's at. Did you want to say something else, Larry?
Well, I didn't know if you needed to wrap this up or not. I was going to start to summarize. If we take 5 more minutes, I'll just summarize. Go ahead. So basically, you started to ask the question, how's America lost its manufacturing? So basically, we just set up a system where money was going by the trillions of dollars to China to build it.
That was also NAFTA, correct?
Yes, NAFTA wasn't. Well, here's what the deal. When we went into NAFTA, which was under Clinton, we were over about 150 years old, and we had a total national debt. You ready for this, folks? 660 billion, not even a trillion. Then we go into NAFTA, an intentionally losing trade deal. Look at all those losing trade deals that I showed you. And basically now we're at 36 trillion and we're damn near bankrupt.
Wow.
That's the basis of what trade does. And you balance that out against paying a little bit more for some products for maybe a year and a half. Because remember, all those trillions that I told you these companies are committing, there's more to it. Trump is also turning regulations back. He's saying you bring $1 billion into the U.S. marketplace, I will expedite the building of your factory. You'll get all the permits you need, and we'll be up and running. So this short-term pain is going to maybe be 18, 24 months. And then we're going to be cranking, and basically we're going to be paying that national debt down. And I want you to each think about this. So we get out of the IRS and we get to external revenue service. And what do we got? About 35% of the taxes you pay are gone. And then we get into a situation where now we're making products, and we've got some revolutionary new energy that allows us to build products much cheaper, because the largest cost of every product you'll ever buy is energy. And so now the cost of the products you buy are going to go down. There's not going to be any federal income tax. Taxes are going to be lowered. And look at where you're going to be. There is a glut of people who cannot buy a house. This whole new generation is basically trapped. Americans are going to be able to buy houses. The American dream will come back. Stay with this man. He's going to turn America around on a dime. Now, a dime is not a week or a month, not even a year, but you look 2 or 3 years out and you won't recognize what America looks like if you stay the course with this man. And you ask what his end game is: to return prosperity to America, and then share that prosperity with the rest of the world, ginning up a situation where we can have peace and prosperity. So one of the things that we were talking about, does America have the leverage? That's why I showed you those slides. When you go to Canada and you say, well, we got $25.5 trillion GDP. And what do you got? Well, you got virtually nothing. You got no cards in your hand. So basically, we're going to win this war short term, and America is going to be the most prosperous nation in the world once again. China is going to be crippled and become, at best, a regional power. And basically, the nations of the world already recognize, as much as they said, we're going to go to China. Look, it's all turning around already. And basically, we're going to have a situation where the world is going to understand we are the indispensable nation, period.
Wow.
And we're going to win. That's it. We
Larry,
wrap this
awesome
up.
presentation, and we'll do the back channel, folks. Nino's Corner.tv to get more detail. He's going to go over the slides, the PowerPoint slides, and it's going to be worth watching. Thank you, Larry, so much for joining me. God bless.
You're always welcome. I love to be with you.